Hi Mermaid Junkies, how are you? I hope you're doing well. I wanted to share a video with you, especially because the holidays, well, Mother's Day is coming up, and I am a mother of 4, and after my previous divorce, I have not a lot of connection with my children. Not that it's a bad thing or we're on a bad, sense of, relationship status or anything like that. It's none of that. It's just that all of my children live in a different state, and so it's limited, as far as how much I can see them. And I talk to them through text and telephone and stuff like that. Usually on, I don't know, maybe every couple of weeks or something. I mean, some of the children are different than the others, You know how, if you're a parent, you know that some of them are more, reach out more, some don't. But anyway, I thought that what I would do is share a video with you, because let's just be blatantly honest. Not everybody has a good relationship with their children, and some do, but I wanted to give some 6 treasure trove tips to help you sail through the holidays, especially if you don't have it. Maybe you are an only child and your mother's passed already, or there's all kinds of different circumstances. So I just wanted to be there to support you and help you to know that there are some avenues and some beautiful little steps, little tips that will help you in not being completely ridiculous on the holidays, on the holiday of Mother's Day. So anyway, okay, so what I would like to do is, how I always like to give a story or a metaphor, as far as because I was a mermaid, or I am a mermaid. And okay, so reminds me is that a lot of times, if you're going through the holidays, especially Mother's Day, so let me just say Mother's Day, I'll talk about Mother's Day since Mother's Day is on Sunday, is that when I was a little mermaid and I was swimming shows, obviously I swam the shows underwater, which is about the average depth of the water was probably 30 to 35 feet underwater, right? And so we would perform a 30-minute show underneath the water with our air hoses. Well, the park was open 365 days of the year. No, actually, was it open on Christmas? Or was it open every day except for Christmas? I can't remember, but I know that we worked. I think the park was open almost 365 days a year. No, 365 days a year? Is that what it is, you guys? Tell me what it is. I don't know. Leave it in the comments. Can't remember. Anyway, every day of the year, the park was open for business. And so, living off the coast of Florida, I'm sure many of you may know that the weather here is, in some months of the summer, it's very predictable for it to rain all of the time. We have thunderstorms. Florida's very known for having hurricanes. And so there was rain, shine, sleet, snow, cold, hot. We always had to swim a show, regardless of what the weather was predicting for that particular day. And I liken that, for me, having to swim a show, there were some days, at wintertime, it was just extremely cold. But here is where my analogy comes in, is that regardless of what the weather was, whether it was shining, sunny and shiny, whether it was raining and there was a thunderstorm, we still had to swim the show. And when we were under the water, you could not tell, if you did not rise to the surface of the water, you couldn't tell that, oh, it's 20 degrees out, or it's 102 degrees out. You just couldn't tell because the water temperature was the same all year round. It was 72 degrees all year round. And so you never knew what it was like on the outside of swimming a show. And so I think basically what I'm trying to say is, the metaphor here is that with the holidays and Mother's Day or Christmas or Thanksgiving or Father's Day, or whatever the holiday may be, is that we have to learn to recognize that we cannot be predicted upon what our condition is that we need to be able to live through all conditions, whether it's a holiday, it's raining, it's snowing, it's whatever, and not be predicated upon, oh, well, if it's sunny and shiny outside, it's gonna be a great day, right? Or how many times do you hear people like, oh, it's Monday? And I guess Monday has a negative connotation for people, and like, oh, Monday's always a tired day. Oh, Monday's always the day that sucks, And that just goes to show you that you have a wobble in your countenance, in your vibration. You are living based on conditions. And so what we need to do is get to the point where we have such a stable vibration that we do not rely on conditions. So regardless of a condition around you, you are always able to be stable in your awareness of where you are vibrationally. Does that make any sense? Like when I was performing, I didn't use, oh, well, it's raining today, so we're not going to swim a show because it's raining, or we're not going to swim a show because it's super cold outside and the water's cold, And so, because basically what we did is we were so controlled in our vibration that regardless of a condition externally, outside of ourselves, we were still swimming a show and putting on a great performance. So it's all in the way that you view and have a belief system about a particular thing. And so if you have a belief system about, say the holidays, are going to make me depressed or whatever, or I'm going to be sad. Because basically what you're doing is you're relying on the conditions of others to predict whether or not you are going to be happy that day or sad that day, or decide that you're going to feel lonely that day because your kids don't call you or your kids haven't contacted you. And so I want to give you a couple of tips, things that have helped me, because when I was, like I said, when I was going through my previous divorce, my predicament was completely different, but I was not going to allow anyone else to dictate how I was going to be internally. And so if that meant regardless of whether my children were going to, I didn't know. I projected out this beautiful sense of thinking, my kids are going to be receptive to me, even though through the divorce everything's going to be fine. I'm going to have a great relationship with my children. And that's exactly what happened. And furthermore, children, especially between the ages probably of 16 to probably even in their early 20s, are very much focused on themselves. They're very much focused on making themselves happy, which is a good thing. We as parents, as mothers, should be very appreciative of that, because we want them to focus on themselves. And so I wanted to give a couple of things that I've done that have helped me through Mother's Day, through holidays, through all kinds of circumstances and particular events and things that have occurred that have helped me to not get sad. I don't get sad, depressed, upset, lonely, none of that. Ever. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's Christmas time, or it's one of my children's birthdays, or it's Mother's Day, or it's it's summer vacation and I'm not going to see my children. I've just learned that I've conditioned myself so distinctly, and so I've focused so much on having control of my thoughts and the way that I think about things and my belief systems, and redirecting myself into believing and creating new belief systems, that I'm pretty much almost stable 100% of the time. Now, obviously I'm human, so I'm going to have those moments to where, you know, something may happen or someone may have said something to me or whatever, but I'm very quick to redirect that, you know, and get myself back into alignment. Sorry about that, it was a phone call that came in. And be able to place my focus back on trying to understand what that contrasting moment was causing me to want to need to look at, you know, to heal something that's unhealed or to address something, because that's the reason we can appreciate contrast so much, is because contrast is giving us the ability to recognize where we are unstable in our vibration and frequency, right? So, okay, so one of the things is, okay, so on the holidays, I think one thing that's important is to think about your triggers. You know, if you feel like you're not a super stable person in your vibration yet, and you're still working out a lot of kinks and a lot of ebbs and flows in your vibration, you know, say for instance, you are still living basically with the belief system that conditions predict your emotions, you know, and if that's the case, you might want to think about the triggers that will promote that sense of taking you down that stream of thought that is not going to be very rewarding for you. Because what happens when you get on a momentum and you start thinking of something, sorry, I keep snapping my pen, but when you get on a momentum of thinking things, like say for instance you hear songs or something, maybe it's a mom and daughter song or something, if you know that that is a trigger and you think, you know, there's a lot of momentum in songs, and so if you think that that's going to cause you to go down that stream of thought that's, you know, going to make you sad and upset and things, especially it being Mother's Day, then don't listen to those songs. Another thing is focus on the positive things. And the reason that you would maybe feel upset or perhaps, you know, sad that maybe you don't hear from your children or whatever, the only reason that you're feeling sad about that is because you're using your children as the object of your desire as a condition to feel bad. So the only person that's doing that to make you feel bad is yourself. It's your inner being saying, you know what? This is not who you are. This is not who you are, Raquel. Like, I'll use myself as an example. Like, Raquel, it's not healthy for you to look to the past in regret, because your inner being, your soul, God, your internal being does not look in the past. And so when you go there, when you go in the past and you start thinking of the past or regrets or I wish this was that way, or I wish my kids would call me, or whatever the situation is, whatever the thought process that you have going on, the only reason that you're feeling that way is because your inner being will never go back and look. Your inner being doesn't have regret. And so when you do that, you're in direct conflict with your inner being. And so your inner being, that's why you feel like crap. So it's so important, it's so important to have control of your focused thoughts. And when you can do that, and you can, no matter the condition, and you can stay in a high frequency of vibrational happiness and joy, you have discovered the deep internal reasons for being here on the earth, and that is to have joy. Okay, so another one would be, this was probably, I do this like every Mother's Day, because I'm a mother. I use that time to do what I want to do. I don't use it as like waiting around for my children to make me feel special on that day, because I know that I'm special, regardless of whether I was a mother to a pet or a mother to a child. Do you know what I mean? And or a mother to a child that maybe passed or something. What you have to do is you have to be happy, make yourself happy that day. Don't wait for someone else as a condition, once again, to make yourself happy. You know, I'll be happy if my kids call me. I'll be happy if I get a bouquet of flowers from someone. I'll be happy if someone acknowledges me and sends me a card in the mail. So once again, we're relying on conditions to cause whether or not we're happy or not happy. And so what you have to do is make yourself happy, and then you will not care whether or not someone sends you a card, someone calls you, or does anything, you know, because you're not here to rely on someone else to make you happy. You need to make yourself happy. And that even goes with regards to your children. Do not wait around, because if you do that, you're going to be utterly failed and disappointed all the way around, all the time, at some point or another. No one can keep you as their object of attention, always, no matter what. No one can, except your inner being and you, yourself, right? So I talked about triggers, and I talked about like living with regrets and stuff, because a lot of times I think parents or mothers or whatever, that's why you start to feel sad or upset or whatever, because you're starting to use your children as the reason for why you're upset or you're depressed or you're sad. Well, if they would call me, then I wouldn't be upset. You know, so once again, you're using a condition to dictate whether or not you're going to be happy or not. And you can't do that. I mean, you can do that and you can live depressed for the rest of your life. But the goal here is to get to the point to where no one can cause you to wobble in your vibration, okay? So, like I said, if you find yourself still, you know, wobbling on this particular day, on Mother's Day, what those contrasting moments are there for is to help you to recognize maybe there's a particular unhealed part of yourself that maybe you're living with regret. Maybe you're living with a particular moment in time that you haven't really went full throttle and try to dig through to down to the core, the deep diving into understanding why you're feeling the way that you're feeling. And so this might be a good opportunity for you to do some like internal healing and like internal self-love work. And so just look at it like that. You know, it doesn't have to be a negative thing or a sad thing. Just look at it like, oh, this is an opportunity for this contrast that's come into my life on this holiday, that I know that, you know what, my vibration is kind of sucky right now. So what's going on with me? You know, maybe do a focus wheel or something like that. And so I hope these things helped you, and I hope that you remember that, once again, if I can reiterate, that we have to get to the point to where no matter what the condition, the holiday, the circumstance is around us, that we are in control of our thoughts. We are our creators. We create our destiny. We are the creators, the co-creators of our lives. And so the only way to be joyful and happy within our lives is to be able to know that we have control over that. And I think that's what most people want to know and want to believe, is that we have control over our own lives. So you have control over your thoughts, and you have control over all of your actions. Do you know what I mean? And so if your thoughts are shitty, if your thoughts are crappy and you're feeling crappy, well, there's no one else to blame but you. So whereas you can be so super happy and like, I did that, I'm a creator, I can do that, I manifested that. You also have to take responsibility for the fact that you were thinking about some negative something, and then you had negative stuff come into your life, right? And so we have to take credit for the good stuff and the stuff that's not so good, because that's basically teaching us and helping us to recognize where it is that we're wobbling in our vibration. So I hope this helped you, and I hope that you do have a wonderful Mother's Day. And for those of you that, I just hope that you have a really great weekend. And as always, I'm yours until my next swim. Ciao.